God morning, God morning, God morning. God morning, everyone. How are you? So great to see all of you here this morning. Welcome. Happy Tuesday. God morning. Jakelu. Nikki, great to see you. Stephanie, God morning. My life is here. Let's see. Well, I am still hanging out with my big sisters for today. I'm gonna head home, have lots to get done. I hope all of you had a glorious Monday. Amazingly, I was super productive, which was great. And good morning, Kevin. Good morning, Nat. Good morning, Dream It Plan. Good morning, Tasha. Oh, yes, let's up the pajama game. Well, you know what it is. Aloha, tribe. Good morning. God morning. You know what it is, though? I really love the feeling of amazing pajamas. Let me tell you which company I'm obsessed with right now. It's called Nap Loungewear is what I'm obsessed with right now. But how are your spirits feeling today? Are you all feeling energized and blessed and driving but listening? Drive carefully. Please stop texting, Mindy. Please don't text and drive. Yeah. My spirit is really good. I'm having some breakthrough moments, people. I just want to share with you. I am truly having some breakthrough moments right now. I'm having breakthrough moments around getting clarity of who I am and even more about who I'm called to be, which is super powerful. Not feeling energized this morning, but it's okay pushing through. Shelly Lanise, listen, we are grateful for whatever it is in the moment that it is. So knowing what it is, I see you, Karen, you're in grind mode. Love, focused and hopeful. I love that. No energy, but blessed beyond measure. And that's okay. Here's the thing, everyone. We might not necessarily always have the energy, but we have the presence. And so if we don't have the energy, but we still have the presence, there is just still so much to be grateful for and to honor in that moment. And so even if you don't feel all of the energy, the presence is there, right? And so the fact that, again, we talked about this yesterday with Aisha, the power of our breath just being enough, and to have the breath is enough. So even if you don't feel all of the amazing energy today, lean into the light knowing that it is there. Lean into your breath knowing that you are gifted and granted grace by having breath. So there are just so many levels to that. Good morning, Holiday. Good to see you. So I think my baby boy and mentee, Frenty, he's really like my son. Laquan is joining me this morning. Where are you, man? Do you want to send a request, Mammon, and then I'll bring you in? And yes, exactly, designed by Steph. Even in those moments when you don't necessarily feel all of this amazing energy, be blessed. Good morning, Janie. Be blessed. Welcome back, Damaso. We love that you are back. I'm happy that you took a rest. Team, I must tell you, I think I might be taking a rest very soon. I'm planning a trip to Jamaica for some downtime, and even though I'll be working, I think I might take a week off. Look
Hi.
at you.
Good morning.
Look at you. Look at you. Good morning, sunshine. How are you, my love? How are you?
All right.
I'm doing well. Your reception doesn't seem that good. Do you?
Rains in Newark. The internet gets a little hectic. Can you hear me clearly now, or
Yeah, it's
can
not
you hear me
agreeing.
clearly now? Uh, hey,
Well, you're a little bit
Newark.
staticky. I can hear you.
Okay, hold on.
Leave my. Are you on
Yeah,
Wi-Fi? Good morning.
yes, I'm on Wi-Fi,
Okay.
but that's what is what messing up.
Okay. It looks like it's decent right there. So can you stay right there?
Yep.
Yeah. Don't move.
I'm
Kelly,
not.
The dates I saw you. I think I saw you said send the dates. I'll send you the dates. The 19th through the 27th, I think, are the dates right now. How are you doing, Quan?
I'm doing well. It's a lot, as you know. I'm making a huge transition into a new journey in my life, so that's been on my mind constantly. So I'm dealing with days where I'm completely confident, and days where you have your anxiety and your fears because it's a step that you're not normally used to taking. Um, you always, if you're like me in my situation, if I share a little today, it's that you're used to security and you chase security because security feels safe for you because you know what it's like to not have security at such an early age. So you got to try to peel back some of it and see which parts of it is wisdom and which parts of it is something that you've been carrying or harvesting that no longer serves you. So that's what I've been presented with from the weekend into yesterday's thoughts. So
Yeah.
feel good.
So proud of you. Just everyone, just for a little background, Laquan is one of my babies, like for real, and is truly grown into one of the most amazing young men that I love with all of my heart, and it brings me emotion just to think about it. But I met Laquan when he was 14 years old. He's now 30 years old. He has been in my life consistently since he was about 20. Well, I mean, you were in my life all of high school, but then you re entered my life when you were about 23 or 24, right?
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah, in Chicago.
yeah, when you were in graduate school in Chicago, and he has been he's just an incredible young man who is on his journey. So I'll let him share a little bit about your journey very quickly. He is an author, he's a poet, a writer, a creator, but who has done incredible things with his life. And I think, is one of those most dynamic examples. Good morning, good morning. I see you. Is one of those incredible examples of where you are from or your starting point does not have to dictate where you go. It's something that you can draw on. It's something that you can use as inspiration. It's something that you can tap into.
Right.
Um, but there's a lot of us that struggle with identity and understanding that who we were born as, the circumstances in which we were born into don't have to dictate where
Exactly.
up. So, Quan, I'll let you share very quickly, and then we'll jump into morning mindset with our devotional.
Okay. Well, thank you again, Ty, for having me on and having a conversation before this. But my name is Laquan Ford. I was born and raised here in Newark, New Jersey. I went to public schools and all the way throughout high school. I was in public schools until I graduated from college at Seton Hall University. But while in high school, it was a very difficult time for me and a lot of other teenagers, but more in particular, for my situation, I was living in I was living in a home where we didn't have much. From North New Jersey. We lived Indian everywhere. At the very early parts of my childhood, we had our run-ins with DIFAS and foster care. And while we never had long-term stay there, because I was adopted by a family member, actually, my Mary, that's right there.
That's
Uh,
there. There she
and
is.
yes, so I was adopted by her, myself and my little brother. Then unfortunately, she passed when I was 15 and a half, 16, which was a huge turning point in my life because I didn't want to do anything else. I spent the majority of my life searching for my birth parents, and once meeting them, it was a completely different reality than the one I planned in my head about how that meeting would go because I just wanted to meet them so badly. And so from stemming from seeking that type of attention and then also looking for attention that my grandmother couldn't give me, that sort of became a way of living for me is how can I make people pay attention to me because no one else is. And I turned that into if I'm acting out, a lot more people would pay attention to me because they seem to care that I'm acting out. And I did that a lot. And that's actually how I met Ty. And I think while I normally would have said I regretted the behaviors that I displayed, but I understand it at a much deeper level now since I've been in therapy for the last 3.5 years. Um, my journey has been a journey toward me believing what people were saying about me and allowing that to carry me
Mm.
to I was forced to see those same exact traits and similarities and those those moments of, hey, you are a completely different light, and I need you to see this. So it took me a while for me to see that same light for myself, and I feel like that's been a huge part in my my development, and also that last 10 years up until I turned 30 was me searching for, you know, that confidence to say, hey, I see the same thing in myself now.
Listen, so you touched on a lot of things, Quan, and I think to be such a young person of 30 years old, your wisdom is just so exponential and so far-reaching. But you talked about therapy, you talked about a shift in mindset, quite frankly, and how you had to make a conscious decision that the mindset that you had conditioned yourself to have and trained yourself to have, or people told you was what it was supposed to be. Once you shifted your mindset, you chose differently. And, that's a powerful example of, why I think many of us show up here most mornings is that, we know that we have a choice in this matter. And you have been really intentional about the choices that you've made, going on to Seton Hall, going on to Loyola for graduate school, and then going back to the very community that you're from and serving. So I just want to reiterate to you for the public that I'm extremely proud of you. I love you more than you know.
Okay.
Super grateful for you. He is also an author, so Cologne and Bandages. Um,
Yes.
Bandages is cologne, right? So you guys can order his book, Bandages and Cologne, which is just one of his first early kind of writings. There will be many more. He's working on some dynamic projects and programs, and probably will end up in the writers' room among other things. And
Yeah.
so I'm super excited for you, Laquan, and grateful for you and your journey, and excited to read with you this morning because the other thing that's so crazy is, people think that you have younger people or people who are mentees in your life. And Quan was over my house not too long ago, and you teach me a lot more than you realize. And so, boom.
Well, they know that. But that went down. That helped a bit.
Correct that. Okay, so we're going to jump into morning mindset and read it
Okay.
today with Layana Van Zant. Today is May 4th. Quan, do you want to start reading or do you want me to start, babe?
Start with the quote because on my I printed it out, but it cut off at the
Okay.
very
So at the top or at the bottom?
at the top.
Oh, what's so interesting? This might have been a two-pager. Sugar, how can I access this? So I'll start at the top and then you'll close out because I don't know if I have the last quote at the bottom,
Okay.
because I left my other phone at home. All right, so I'll start. May 4th. I am now receptive to the idea that I must learn to doubt my doubt and to negate my own negativity. Ooh, come on. Doctors prescribe medication in an attempt to facilitate physical healing. In the book of Proverbs, we find that many theologians consider to be the ultimate prescription for living a successful life. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not unto your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. If only it were that simple. These words raise four major challenges: trust, heart, understanding, and acknowledgement. We have a problem with trust. We can't trust people. We can't trust the things that will turn out the way we want them to turn out. So how can you trust God? You don't. You let God trust you. You trust that God believes you when you say you will or will not do a thing. You trust that God will support you in the things you say you want for your life. If you learn to forgive yourself for all the ways you have let yourself down, God trusts will grow in you and God will grow in your heart. I'll let you take it from there, Quan.
When you believe you know everything, you will never acquire understanding. If you think that the meaning of life is always evident and what is on the surface, you will never understand yourself, God, or life. Unfortunately, far too many of us believe the truth only when we see it.
Hmm.
As a result, we cannot recognize the truth when it is revealed. These are the people who want to be right. When you want to be right, it is difficult to trust your heart because you know how many times it has been wrong. Do you acknowledge God? More important, how do you acknowledge God? Step one, accept that you do not know everything. Step two, open your heart even after it has been broken. Step three, trust that God wants for you what you want for yourself. And then you're acknowledging God. Until today, you may have been resistant to taking divine medication. Just for today, accept that it will work, even if you don't know how it works. Today, I am devoted to following the divine prescription for a successful life.
Wow.
This is
Wow, 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 wow. Okay. I see your face, and so I know you're thinking, and thank you, Janae. Janae is on Kwan.
it.
Um, will you listen? Okay, so what jumps out for you, Kwan?
In the very beginning, trusting, doubting your own doubt. And I say that because it was something similar, not similar in the way it, showcases itself in our behaviors, but I was thinking about that exact same, that the way of thinking with anxiety, how sometimes we look at anxiety as like this bad thing that is in our lives, depending on its intensity. And for some of us, it really gets bad. But I believe personally, in my life, I shifted the way I interact with my anxiety. I
Mm,
because I watch a lot of nature videos, I understand that in nature in this rawness, their anxiety is what keeps them fed. The anxiety is what keeps them to be able to find safe places to, have their young. It teaches them when they're in danger. And because we also are coming from that same kind of creator who is not here physically to protect us, but we have that anxiety. And I think that's a part of it, wisdom and protection, is because anxiety tells you, hey, look, this may be danger, but you can also restate to your anxiety, hey, it may not be danger for me right now, but I appreciate you for alarming me and being present when I'm not present, but I'm okay right now. And it takes a lot of,
mm.
because when anxiety comes a racing heart, and when a racing heart, there comes racing thoughts. And if you're anything like me, I wake up to my thoughts, I go to sleep. Well, try to fall asleep with my thoughts, but I'm trying to build a relationship with those parts of me that I thought I needed to get rid of. Um,
Mm.
there's has to be a lesson in that. There has to be a lesson, something that can control my heart without me even, being in any type of real danger that I see. But
Mm.
my anxiety teaches me things, and I have to figure out what it's saying. If I don't,
Mm.
it's going continuously to almost drive me crazy. So I'm trying to listen to it, because that's the same way it is in nature with a lot of the animals that are in nature, is that it's not anxiety, it's instinct. It's telling you something that you need to move away from. And that
You know,
happens in relationships and in public. It happens in concerts when you're afraid that something's going to come in there and happen. Sometimes that instinct is correct. Sometimes you remove yourself from a situation to analyze that, to figure out if you can calm yourself, then maybe you just didn't want to be in that area, and you just were ignoring your body. And I think anxiety is a voice for our body. It's like,
you know, thank you for that, Quan. I think that that's a very interesting perspective. And I see you love Miss Cat during moments of high anxiety. And I like to remind myself that I'm not in crisis. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you mentioned that anxiety, a signal, emotion, a signal, is something that is instinctive and natural to us to alert us alone. And I say this all the time, alone on their own, emotions are not fully intelligent. They have to be directed. You have to help your emotions understand why they're there, what their purpose is, and how you channel those. So I think, what's key, and also because the term and the word anxiety just had um, you know has such a negative connotation. And if we reframe the way that we think about that,
right,
I think we'll show up different in it, in a way where we won't look at it as something that's anxiety. It's a signal, it's an indicator, it's an indication that we either are going to trust the circumstances around us, we're going to trust ourselves, or we're going to trust God. What stood out for me is that you know, you trust that God believes you when you say you will or will not do a thing. You trust that God will support you in the things you say you want in your life. And so, if we really believe, we do have to create space for our beliefs in our truths and what we desire to actualize. But they have to actualize not only in theory and in concept, they have to actualize also in our actions, right? And so, I love this idea of, you know, how can we trust God? You let God trust you.
Yeah.
Because God is totally working in concert with us, which is so powerful to me. And then, taking it down to the last part about acknowledging God and what that means. And again, this is a space where you're entitled to believe what you believe. I believe what I believe. You will know what I believe. But as a believer, do you acknowledge God? Do you know how do you acknowledge God? You have to accept that you do not know everything. And so many of us in our trust and in our faith journey and in our walk, the struggle is that we're trying to say that we trust God and we have faith in God, but then we're still trying to act on all the things we know to be
Yeah.
true. So where's the trust?
Right.
And how do you show up in that relationship where there's real space for acknowledging God, but then also allowing God to do what he does and what is going to happen. What are you feeling right now? Talk about some of the anxiety that you're feeling right now
I
to
think,
use your
and this happened as recently, like literally yesterday. Well, mid afternoon, around like 5, 6 o'clock. Not mid, but late. And so I was sitting in my house, and yesterday I really didn't do much outside of just writing. But I was sitting in my house, and I'm worried because of the situation I shared with you with my current career change. And I was sitting here, and I'm like, should I still be working? I know I haven't ended the contract. Should I still, like, I was planning things, and I'm like, this I'm doing the things that stressed me out from where I first decided that I needed to move away from that particular opportunity. But the one thing I was just sitting here, I'm like, no, it has always worked out. And I literally sat down, and I never trusted when people used to say things like this happen. But I was just sitting down, and I was first worried for a good hour or two trying to watch TV, but it was constantly on my mind. Like, what am I going to do? I had this plan of, like, I was going to save, the last couple of money that I was going to get in so that I can be safe for at least a year, I mean, 6 months to a year. And then I got a call from my therapist, and I was like, it's not a day for therapy, so why is she calling me? So I answered, and she was telling me that the agreement that was made with the insurance company and my job, it was that they were just going to, cover me until to the end of my contract, and I wouldn't need to return to the office. And I just sat there, got off the phone, I just sat there, and I was like, I was right about how I've been living my life. And how I've been living my life, also, I realized I've been picking up on other people's anxieties, and it may show that they may have been talking to me out of the way of, like, genuine concern about what it is that I wanted to do. But I always acknowledged and trusted God in my life. And I've done that in ways that it may have been silent. It may have come off as cocky, or just, Quan, I don't think you know I don't think you know what you're doing. It's like I don't, but I'm just gonna trust that what I'm saying I'm gonna do is based on, something that I want. And if I'm gonna go after something that I want, that I know is deep rooted in my mind and constantly on my mind, at least let me try, because I do everything else for jobs, and I put in, the effort to make sure that their, opportunities, their jobs, their goals are met, but I don't apply those same,
same thing. Oh,
yeah, self. So my anxiety that from that area was always, am I being looked at as, less professional, or lazy, or, just trying to leave something without really making a plan. And it wasn't that. It literally, the voice that was on my mind was that trust yourself. But why are you trusting yourself? I'm trusting myself because I always knew that I was being guided. And
yeah.
if I had to acknowledge that, because then I seen the full map of how I was being guided. Like I shared with you before, all the women who've been in my life during my journey up until now have all served the purpose. And I still have people who continue to serve the purpose, like yourself. And it's like, if I can trust that, and I say I want to do the same thing for other people, but if I can trust that, that lesson in itself will help me to be a better ally for people who need to, move forward in their lives in a way that's sort of similar, or one that's different. But I just want anxiety to just be looked at differently in our lives.
Here's something that I want to offer that just came to me. If you are doing, we talk about divine alignment and divine connection often here. We talk about, today's passage as acknowledging God and knowing where God resides. And in other passages and other readings, we've talked about, our connection to God and divine alignment and whether or not we feel there. Here's something to ponder. If we really are aligned to your point, and we know that there is divine intentionality and divine alignment over how we're saying we'd like to move, if we've already consulted with God before we make those moves and we know that that's where we are, to trust yourself is to trust God. If God is speaking through and to you. And so that's also the other thing that we have to get clear about is like, are we hearing and connecting and acknowledging God in these moments, and is God with us in these moments? And then if that's the case, we can't trust people more than we trust God. We can't trust people more than we trust ourselves. And so in that, when people come to you with their fears, their anxieties, the circumstances that swirl around their minds, you have to come back to your sitter and say, like, I know God, thank you, Tasha. I know God is working within me. This is a divine alignment, but that's the work that we have to be persistent and consistent in doing. So when you talk about like, and for different people, it comes in different ways, whether or not you're writing, whether or not you're in constant communication, and this thing about God, creator, earth, heaven, whatever you want to call it for you, that's a relationship that has to be nurtured and matured and developed constantly. So you can't say, I trust God, but you haven't had a conversation with God in a month. Now, God, you can trust. God is still going to do what he does. But how can you be so certain if your relationship is not being formed and developed and honed and fine tuned? And in that, you get clarity and deeper understanding of who you are and how you're supposed to move. And with that, then it becomes easier to dismiss any of the anxiety, any of the fears, any of the projections, any of the comments, the confusion, any of the criticism that other people have on you, because you already know where you're trusting. You already know where it's like where the money reside, where the trust reside, where the money reside, where the reside. If the trust is here and my alignment is with God, then the trust is going to reside here. It's not going to have room everywhere else. And so,
That
um,
was that was a line from one of the poems in my last book was that if God is within me, then there should only be three letters in my bio. And I wrote that because from the same sentiment is that, well, if you're saying that this being or this light is inside me, then it is me. It's a part of me. It's who I am, because I believe that that's who I am, and I need to operate in that same light, and not allow too much darkness to keep me bound. And I think there are times when we allow, or there are times when I've allowed anxiety to keep me isolated from my projects that I do. And it wasn't even just tiredness, it was just a matter of trusting myself, even though I knew I had, this, I don't want to say higher calling, but even though I knew I had the security of someone saying, hey, I have your back. I just need you to trust yourself. Like you'll be fine, but I need you to trust yourself. And it took me a really long time I was given lessons so many times, and it took now until I realized why I was given those particular lessons is because I always felt like, for example, you have people who are like, I just would rather be in the back and I'll allow a CEO to do everything else, but I'll do the work in the back. And I've been that person for a great deal of my time, but I had to look at why I was being that person and be honest with my reflection of that is that one, I don't want to be held responsible for being in the limelight if I do screw up because I have not dealt with the fact that I can accept criticism in a way that deals with something I'm performing, something I'm doing and creating. So that's something I need to work on. But I would never have realized that had I not had these conversations.
mm,
And
mm.
even who tell me like, Juan, allow yourself to get to allow people to help you. And I'm like, that's also part of God. So it
Mm.
took me a while.
And that just gave me chills. That just made me think about uh, uh, a old hymn. Oof. And I can't sing it, but it says, ask the Savior to help you. And so often, and I was going to say, you know, the idea of anxiety, I want us to reframe that word because it definitely has negative connotation. And it's not putting us in a place of healing and restoration and growth.
Spidey
And
senses.
to be anxious is to mistrust or not have trust for God. You know, I think to be anxious, now it's normal, right? We have moments of anxiety, but to choose to nestle and settle into anxiety stems from fear, we know that. But it also, a large part of that is not trusting God. And so, you know, what you said about being anxious, about not wanting to have people, I don't want to say criticize, but provide constructive feedback to you, can hold you back. And that can keep you from your growth, you know, as you said. And so that was a powerful thing to realize that you come to a place of saying, you know, I want to grow and I'm going to move beyond this space, exactly, to become aware, to become alert. Um, in that, so that way you can grow, and you can also, when you grow in those moments, also the season of growing also is an exercise of your trust, your faith muscle, because when you elongate and you move to another place, now you can trust that what you experienced before, when you didn't have necessarily the strength or that muscle, you've done it once before, you can do it again, and now you can do it again and again and again and again. So I want us to actually today try and not to use the word anxiety, and the scripture does say, and I see someone wrote it, that God says be anxious for nothing but in all things prayer and supplication.
Mm.
So if we gonna be thankful, we got to really be in that. Who did you just see, baby?
Sometimes we don't even know we are not trusting God.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. So what do you need to trust for right now, Quan?
Uh, so as you know, I'm taking this huge move and journey, and I'm a person of planning, a person of seeking security. Just because growing up poor, you just finish all the food on your plate. You want to make sure you have like your month bills and everything can be covered. So before you take any type of opportunities, you want to map that out first. But I think I've been doing that my entire life, and then I think right now, for the purpose of my life, I think what I'm being told.
For a minute there, though, because something you said earlier, even in those moments of not being certain, you did remind us earlier that provision has always been made.
Yeah,
It may not have been exactly the provision you wanted,
no,
but there was provision that was made. So I just want to acknowledge that.
yeah, and I just right now I want to fully walk out 100% and say, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to trust. This is how I'm going to look at, those moments where I feel doubt, those moments where I, feel I'm calling my spidey senses and acknowledge and figure out what it is trying to tell me. But also because I'm doing inner child work in therapy, it allows me to then tap into where that anxiety is stemming from. Which part of my inner child dealt with
Mm,
this, and to then align and see exactly, or see some moments, not all, but see some moments where that was necessary, so I can then say thank you
mm,
uh, for coming and appearing in my life in that way. But again, right now in this situation, whichever way God is going to use that to assist me, I'm going to accept it and I'm going to trust it fully. Because that's one thing I haven't done. I trusted the words and encouragements of other people because I looked at their success and I just automatically assumed that those were their exact steps. I didn't see the many different drafts. I didn't see how many times they changed the title of a show or a project. So with me now, and I'm seeing a lot of people that I look for wisdom, who are going out and doing the things that they want to do and are actually doing the same steps that I currently am doing, but I think are wrong. Like I didn't rewrote my show about 5 times over the course of 10 years, and I wanted to be finished with the show 5 years ago, just so I can then take courses in learning how to better my craft. But I allowed my intense need to please people, even to even please God. And I know that it may sound wrong because it's like you should want to please God. But I was pleasing God in a way that was not constructive for neither of us. He
Mm,
or anything. I was just sitting there, just saying, "This is what's going to happen, and if this fails, I am no longer going after it this way." It was
mm, mm.
a mature child in me, but I then have to remind myself why that happens because I keep saying, "Ah, that's just something like I need to get this, I need to get over this. I need," without exploring it, and you come across a similar situation, I think it'll be a lot easier to maneuver that situation or even problem where you can just solve it with your own wisdom or even look at it, like is this no way this is going to hinder me, but if it does, I will be okay. And that takes a lot to work through because to come to a point in my life to say I will be okay and actually mean it, it's frightening because
Uh, I'm gonna tell you though, but you deciding and getting clear about trusting the full process, and God wants you to trust Him with your whole heart, like not half of your heart. There can't be pieces of you that trust elements of it. And I think your point about not being able to fully show up because you weren't trusting the process and that wasn't pleasing God. You're right in that way because God wants all your trust. It needs to know that you're fully reliant because in those moments when you don't have the fortitude, the mindset, the ability to do it, you have to lean where you don't know. And I think your other point about realizing that trusting people will often take us off the path that God really intends us to be on. So, when we align ourselves and we trust and know that God is speaking to us, we're trusting ourselves and we're trusting God. And then we have to move in that divine alignment. I'm excited for this part of your journey. I'm excited that you are moving past fear to move to your greater and to your next calling to exercise new muscles, to develop new muscles. I'm extremely proud of you. I'm so, so excited for you,
Utah.
and excited to be closer to me now, even, just if not for selfish reasons, that you'll be close.
Round the block.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, looking forward to it. Is there anything else you want to share? I just want to thank you for coming on and for being so transparent. I saw all the comments about seeing a young Black man with so much wisdom. Quan has had incredible experiences. Please purchase Bandages and Cologne. Do you have a copy of the book that you can show?
Yeah. This is it's on Amazon or on my website from my Instagram account. But it's called Bandages and Cologne. If you search it on Instagram, it'll come up. I mean, on Amazon, it'll come up. Or if you search my last name, uh, Laquan Ford or Ford in the title, it'll come up.
Laquan is my baby boy, my
And the Ford is by Ty.
I did do the forward, right? Thank you for the reminder. I completely forgot. Uh,
Yes.
he's been in my life since he was a 14-year-old young man who I just loved and saw so much promise in and so much power in. And really, I told you this the other day when you were visiting, how I really saw the light of God in you. And I'm just so grateful that you are walking in all of that light and growing and thriving. And super, super proud of you. I cannot believe you're 30, but I guess I'll be now. You
Yeah,
keep
I can't believe
backwards.
I'm blessed because a lot of my friends aren't 30. So
Amen, amen to that. Amen to that. Quan shared so much. We had a really, really dynamic conversation when he was with me last week, just a lot about his journey that I didn't even know. And let me just tell you, this brother has been covered.
yeah,
Covered,
I can attest. That will always be.
covered, okay?
I don't know how.
But for the grace of God, you have been covered, and I'm just so grateful for it, and so grateful for you. So grateful for you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm also. I mean, I've told you when we were last
like
talking.
that, baby.
Deeply and wholeheartedly appreciative of you, Ty. And I'm saying this now because there have been women, my grandmother, that have stepped into my life or Miss Sherman or Khadija, who was also important in my life, and have well, Miss Sherman hasn't passed on, but um, there have been people who have passed on, and I was never able to say thank you or even acknowledge, what it was that they've done for me in my life. I think I've always now am just gung ho about giving people that appreciation. And Ty, you have literally, you could have said no so many times because I was so disrespectful towards you, but it was just you were just so adamant about showing me what I now see. But 15 years ago, I could not understand why you were saying these things to me. I just felt that wretched and felt that um, unlovable because I'm like, if my parents couldn't do it, why is this random, woman telling me these things? Is it just because I'm in school and they don't want me to be left behind? Or is it something that's real? And I couldn't trust that. I couldn't trust whether or not if it was, you know, genuine reasons or if it was phony. And literally to be able to, high school, I didn't realize it fully. But when I was in Chicago and the day before you came and I was in Nordstrom working and I saw like the flyer downstairs and I was like, I get to see her. I have to. And I was working. Like, and I begged my manager, I said, can I please go downstairs? This woman has done so much for my life. She has been in my life in a way that I don't think anyone else has continued to after high school. But when I came down there, I just tried my best not to cry, but I was just, when I seen you, and then even though you're talking to people, I was like, are you Ty? And are you Miss Beauchamp? And do you remember me? And the rest is just history. So thank you for pouring into us in the way that you do, for pouring into me and seeing me and not even giving up on me. That was so important for me. That was a lesson I needed to learn. It just to be a black boy and to always be saved and always be nurtured and poured into by black women. It just teaches you so much about what it is that black women endure, but also how much care and love and concern you have, and how you can see past all the hell that we think is just going to be the rest of our lives. So thank you, because the path I was on was not a great one, and you showed me a different side of the world. You showed me different programming, and that there were more things to do in life than to be a doctor and a lawyer, and that what college was and the possibilities and opportunities that college brings you. Because I knew nothing about college or anything, and I was a sophomore in college, in high school. So thank you, Ty, for building the program, and even still with that connection from the program, that allowed me to get the opportunity to have the job that I now have currently. Um, so thank you, Ty. Like, you are so many words that describe what a beautiful soul is. You are all of those words. You are everything. And you said that I pay you, but I will. But I just want to thank you really for setting me on a path to where I am now and continually to. And now I get to be an adult with you. I still
So,
see, but
nope.
I
Kwana,
really
so much.
love you.
I want to thank you for that wonderful acknowledgement. I receive it. I don't think a lot of people know, when I left magazine publishing the first time, after I burnt out of being beauty director at 17 magazine, I went to Newark to work with my mentors foundation, and I started a program that is still operational in Newark at my mentor's alma mater high school, which is where Laquan went to school. And so I was coming from New York City with this big job as a beauty director, and went to this comprehensive high school. And I come from a family of educators, so I knew the education system, but um, and developed this program. And Laquan was one of the first students that was a part of the inaugural job readiness training program that I designed and developed. And when he talks about giving me a hard time, he gave me grief. And as Laquan and I have talked about, there were a lot of young people who had amazing potential who unfortunately weren't able to see it. I mean, we were at a comprehensive high school that, there was national headline news made when, one of my students and several of the students at the school were murdered, and so I was up close and personal with just a lot of this, and Laquan saw a lot of this up close and personal. And I mean, that was a life-changing experience for me, that I know, quite frankly, shaped a lot of who I am today. And so, while you all, and, there's so many of you that I'm still connected to, not as closely, but that reach out, you all changed my life. And it was so powerful for me. It is so powerful for me to know, because when I saw so many of you, I knew the promise. And so for you to actualize everything that God is calling you to, Quan, is um is really amazing. I don't take, look, he's crying now. I don't take any of it lightly. I want you to know you can always come to me. My family loves you. I love you. Um, you will always be held, is what I told you last week. I will always hold you. I will absolutely always hold you. And I'm just incredibly proud of you. Um, so there's that other side of life, and I'm just so grateful for you. You make me so proud. And, you know, it's so interesting because a lot of my community are mostly women, but I have such a soft spot for young Black men. And let me also just tell you this, Quan, really, you've done the work and you're committed to the work. We all have the opportunity to show up. We all can choose to acknowledge God's presence in our life and be aligned. You make the choices. That's why you're doing this. That's why you are where you are, because you made choices. And there were a lot of choices that you didn't have to make. And I'm super, super proud of you. I just love you so much.
I love you too.
Yeah, I love you so much. He's like, I don't want to be on here crying. I know, I don't either. I don't either. But I love you and I'm grateful for you. And thank you so much for being so wise and so steadfast and committed to this journey, and to your growth. Everyone purchase his book, and stay tuned and follow him. He's a dynamic young creative who is just, there it is. There it is. My baby got a book. Yeah.
It's a book of poetry, but there are a couple narratives in here as well. But you may have to take your time reading it. It's about my early childhood traumas.
You're
Um,
very transparent in that. And I actually think that that's been a wonderful part of your healing journey too, is your transparency. And I know it was very hard to go back to some of those places in your mind and to recall a lot of those traumas and those experiences that you didn't know how to process at the time and come back with a new lens. But I think that that'll also be inspiration for a lot of people. So I encourage everyone to purchase Kwan's book. Your transparency was, I mean, you know, when you sent me the manuscript, I was like, okay. I said,
yeah.
I was like, you sure you want me to read this page? Or you want me to read this?
I had to get it out. I just needed to get it out. It was necessary. It was so healing for me to do it. I think my main purpose of it was to share my story so that people who are very similar to me and what it is that they're going through themselves could relate to, or at least see that, hey, I'm not alone. Because I recently started reading. I didn't read in high school, not that much in college either. I fell in love with reading when I was in grad school. And now that I read so much, I realize how much I want it. And the reason I didn't read is because I didn't want to understand the person's language in those classes that I was reading, but also because I was taught that my language wasn't acceptable. I was taught that my language was improper grammar. And I think the most important thing about language is that are people able to understand you?
Mm,
Uh, and syntax and all the our corrections and editing and fancy work it's literature. I understand that, and I understand the importance of that because that is a talent. But I can't connect with people in a language that I don't myself understand. I
mm,
can't speak that language and tell someone what my journey was. So that book inspired me to keep my language because I thought since that was my first book, I'm like, oh, I got to write this in a literary way so that this particular audience can understand it and validate me. And it was another part of my schema of thinking I needed validation from people rather than just putting my story out there as genuinely as I can. So that's that's been my lesson with writing, and now this next book, this next project is something that is just completely raw, because my friend Jasmine Mans, she's a poet, and reading her book and hearing how Nork it sound, I I was like,
mm,
there it goes. And
mm,
I am just so thankful to her as well. But yeah, I really want to speaking my language all the time, not even just on page, but when
In
I'm
li-
talking.
yeah, in the world.
Yeah.
In the world. I think you said something really powerful is like, and I received that because as an English literature major as well, Chelsea, like I'm, and also as an editor, I mean, I edited for a career. So, I can be so particular, but I think you're right. Communication is how you intend for something to be said or shared and what the intention is, and does the person receive it when you express it that way. So the language part is less of an issue. What is your intention? Have you made yourself clear for the person to receive and understand what your intention was? And that's communication. And so I think what you said about expressing and sharing your story and your journey in your own language is powerful, because that in and of itself is communicating something. Your own language is communicating something. It says something about, how you process your feelings, how you show up in them, how you express. So that's all super powerful, Quan. Um, I am so grateful. I see a lot of new, younger people, just to reestablish the space, even though we're going to end. This is Morning Mindset with Ty and Friends. And Laquan is my son, mentee, child, friend, and all the things. Uh,
Printer. Yeah.
hey, babe?
We're gonna trademark printer.
I know we need to, my, because we have kicked it for sure. Um, yeah, and I'm just so incredibly proud. I'm thinking about when you were like, I'm coming to LA to visit you. I was like, okay, you like, I got my ticket. I'm on my way.
Yes. I
He
do.
visited and stayed with me, but he's an incredible young man. So stay connected to him. Follow his work. Laquan, we're continuing to lift you in prayer always, and I love you so much. And to this entire tribe, thank you for um, and allowing and affording us this space, and hopefully it's elevated you in some way, and wishing you all a beautiful, beautiful day.
Right. Thank you so much, Ty.
All
Thank you.
right, love you, babe. I will talk to you soon.
I will see you very soon.
Okay, love you. Ciao, ciao.
Bye, everyone.
My baby.
Yeah.
um
So
thank
I
you
get this
for
thing.
tuning in. Sometimes you just got to close out
Oh,
sometimes.
okay. All
uh,
right. All right, Ty.
Bye, babe. Ciao, ciao. um Isn't he amazing? Oh my gosh. And he brings me so much joy and wells my heart up at the same time. Everyone have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day on this beautiful Tuesday. I saw someone ask earlier what song I was playing. It's Maverick City Refiner, is one that I listen to. For those of you who are new to the space, this is Morning Mindset with Ty. We are here every morning at 6:15 a.m. PST, 9:15 a.m. EST. I thank you all for joining. You can purchase the Until Today book by Oyana Benzant via my Amazon bookstore. Everyone have a great day. I will see you all tomorrow morning. I am supposed to be on a flight tomorrow. So yes, I have to be out of the door by 6:45, so it'll be a quick one tomorrow. But I'm sending you all love and blessings. Have a beautiful day. Thank you so much, Cheryl. Love you, Quan. Thank you, Inspire, Be Well. I'm gonna let some music play just a little bit. His handle is Q. It's in the bottom. It's pinned. Q underscore Sadiq. Q underscore Sadiq. I'm trying to change my flight to Thursday. I don't feel like traveling, y'all. I really don't. I don't feel like packing. I don't feel like traveling. Have a beautiful day, everyone. Sending you guys love. Um, hmm.
Raising you was no bed of roses. Are you getting me anything for Mother's Day?
Have a beautiful day. That was Maverick City. Have My Heart, featuring Chandler Moore and Chris Brown. Have a great day, everyone. Sending you guys so much love. Ciao, ciao.